going on, everybody? It's Nick here, and today we are joined by
Lieutenant Price.
and he is going to talk about what he does in the hospital.
Yep. So I'm an occupational therapist, 65 Alpha. So I'm a part of the 114 Minimal Care Detachment, and we are a part of the 396 CASH Combat Support Hospital, and we are at CSTX Combat Support Training for the next couple of weeks for our annual training. You want to know more about like the actual roles and responsibilities I do? Okay, all right. So with OT, a lot of people aren't really sure what OT is in general. You see us all over the place, hospitals, schools, in the community, behavioral health, AT, which means assistive technology. We're really everywhere, from a neonate, from when someone is born, until the end of life, when someone might be in hospice care, or even just in ICUs or things like that. So right now in the CASH environment, or the deployed hospital environment, or the FOB, we're talking about what are we doing with our soldiers. So OTs are involved right here in the minimal care, taking direction typically from nursing staff. So a minimal care detachment is thinking about soldiers walking in, they might have wounds, they might be sick, and they need immediate attention and care. And OTs with physical therapists are then going to evaluate and see what we can do to help get the soldier back to their duties, their roles and responsibilities. So in general, it's important to delineate the difference between OTs and PTs. That's where a lot of people, there's a lot of a gray area. It's not something that people typically think about. The thing that OTs hear the most is, oh, OT, you must help us get jobs, right? Not necessarily. We can help you get back to work after someone has had an injury or anything that's disrupting their life. But in general, what we're thinking about is occupation. That's what occupational therapy is about. So occupation has many definitions, but really what we're thinking about is the things a person needs to do and wants to do in order to fulfill a role and responsibility. So in the Army, what we're thinking about are job duties. What are the job duties of the soldiers that we're seeing? So it could be anything. And if something happens to that soldier that disrupts their ability to perform their job duties, then we're going to step in. So in a minimal care detachment, we're thinking about physical dysfunction, so phys dis. So was it an actual traumatic injury? Did they break something? Did they overheat? In this hot environment that we have, it's like 97 degrees today. So then we're tasked with figuring out what is it about their job that they're unable to do, and can we provide strategies and actual physical care. So that's where we have to be really careful though with physical therapy. Physical therapists are concerned with strengthening and making sure that someone can move mobility-wise, gait training perhaps, but they're walking for the whole body. OTs, traditionally in a hospital medical environment, we're looking at from the waist up. So someone could come to us as an occupational therapist with, let's say, shoulder pain, wrist pain, hand pain, pain in their fingers, something that's keeping them from participating, let's say even putting on their coat, their uniform. That's necessary for all soldiers to be able to wear their uniform. What if they had a wrist fracture and now they have a big cast on their arm, and now they're like, I don't even know how to put my uniform on. I need help with that. That is something an OT can work with, because that's a role and a responsibility for all soldiers. So that's a pretty good example where OTs are focusing always on the occupation, the activity, the task at hand. So we always need to bring it back to occupation. That's where OT is going to be necessary and where we're going to shine. So again, in this environment, that's really my role, is to make sure that any soldier that comes through our minimal care detachment is to make sure that from a functional capacity standpoint, they can return to their roles and responsibilities of whatever their MOS is as a soldier. So it's been a little bit light for us so far in this CSTX, but at any moment it can pick up. And it's really important for us to educate our providers and our staff to make sure that we're being utilized to our best abilities, because OTs can actually be perhaps embedded even in the ICU. In the private sector, back in hospitals, OTs are always present in ICUs. We can help our physical therapists get our patients up for the first time after a major heart surgery, for instance. If someone had a spinal cord injury, we can help the nursing staff understand different adaptive switch technology to make that person better again. But that, I mean, it's holistic. We're looking at the whole person, and there's a whole other component of OT that we're not even doing here on this FOB. That would be our combat operational stress control, where we're actually looking at it from a psychobehavioral perspective of a soldier witnesses something traumatic, they're deployed, they see bad things, they may do things they're unsure about, they feel bad about, anything like that. They come back and they talk to OTs, a part of a whole behavioral health team, about what strategies they can do to cope with these feelings of guilt, of anger, of sadness. You know, we're trying to get ahead of post-traumatic stress disorder. We're trying to get ahead of these and teach these important life skills that soldiers can carry with them even after they leave service and they return back to civilian life. I worked at the VA for a little bit, and there are many soldiers that I think may have had a better outcome if they had the opportunity to understand these things they were dealing with during active duty service. So again, those are two different parts, but here we're not really doing so much of the COSC, if you will. But in a nutshell, and that was a very big nutshell, that's kind of what we're looking at here.
Wow, very interesting, sir.
Yeah.
So right now you're actually functioning as an OT, not just like training. You're just actually doing your job here right now.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we're I'm currently helping our commander do some EXO duties, so executive officer duties, which any AOC can help do that, as far as I know anyway. But so I've been doing some of those duties, but yeah, what I really enjoy doing is being face to face with our soldiers and making sure that they've got everything they need to be able to do their job the best they can.
What kind of things do you look for, sir, when you're trying to assist a patient? It can be kind of broad or specific. It's up to you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, again, as an OT, we're trying to look at our soldier as a whole, as a holistic person, as a body and a mind and a soul. We want to make sure that we're taking into account everything about the person that we're talking to make sure they're being cared for in every way. We can't do everything. We certainly refer our patients, again, we think about physical therapy, we think about the other therapies that may not be present within an Army setting. We want to make sure that our providers, our doctors, our nurses, our nurse practitioners, anyone who is providing additional care, they understand from a functional standpoint. Again, we're thinking about function.
Function, okay.
Function, exactly. We're thinking about what functionally can we do as an OT to allow our soldiers to do their job to the best of their abilities. And whatever that is, again, we're thinking about anything that could be going on. As OTs, we're trained in, like I said, in behavioral health, we're trained in social sciences, we're trained in anatomy and physiology. We're thinking about all of these things, neuroscience even sometimes. Again, from very little to very old. So those are the things I'm thinking about is what can I provide as an OT that is going to allow you to be able to do your job better if there's any sort of dysfunction.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about what kind of requirements you need, just like something brief on how to become an OT and then commissioning?
Absolutely. So OT right now is a entry-level master's program. So depending on what your path is before you get to OT school, some programs, they will combine a bachelor master's together. But generally, you'll do your bachelor somewhere in something related to OT. So many of us come from the social sciences, life sciences. We have exercise physiology, so anything maybe related to a general health science. But that's not always the case. In my class, I had people who returned from finance, who were in the government, who were in business and marketing, communications, different backgrounds, and they have a change of career. But as far as what is required, bachelor's degree and then a master's degree, and some programs are even offering doctorate. So where I came from at VCU in Richmond, Virginia, their program is down entry-level doctorate. And there's a chance that things may progress where across the board, maybe within the next decade, that all OT programs in the United States are going to be entry-level doctorate standard. Currently physical therapy is that way. We'll see if it continues down that road, but as of now, that's what you need to do. And to get into OT school, as far as what the requirements are, it depends on the actual program. Some are going to place a lot of emphasis on social science. Again, we're talking about the behavioral aspect, the psychosocial aspect of care.
Mm-hmm.
Some may place more of an emphasis on your anatomy and physiology, making sure you have a great understanding of the body, but certainly those are going to be requirements at any program, but just as far as what the credits are, it just depends.
Okay.
Physics tends to be a requirement for not all programs, but a lot of programs. Think about body movement, body mechanics, kinesiology. Are good things to explore. If anyone has interest in that, those would be great too, but those are generally the requirements. And then when the master's degree is finished, then you're going to take your exam, which is by NBCOT, and then once you get that, you get your R. So I was talking about getting your R, and then you become a registered OT, and then you can get your license, which is your L, in whatever state that you live.
Okay.
So it's OTR/L. But that's right now, that's the requirement. And then as far as the Army goes, so the Army have both active duty and reservist OTs. I'm a reservist OT. So I came in by direct commission. So I filled out a very long application. I was licensed, you know, did a lot of different things. It was like a 14-month application process, but so I did it by direct commission. So I came in as a first lieutenant, which I am right now still. But as far as on the active duty side of things, typically, I guess really even still, it's really direct commission for a lot of people, but certainly people who are enlisted can become an OT later. It is an officer AOC, but we do have OT sergeants. So I guess real quick, it's important to also mention that we do, so yeah, an OT sergeant it's a different MOS than I am, and you can be enlisted for that. So in the private sector, that would be an occupational therapy assistant. Those are certificate associate programs, so that's only 2 or 3 years of schooling, and then you can actually work under the direction of an occupational therapist. So they'll do OT work.
Okay.
So the big difference is you're just not doing evaluation, you're doing treatment. But we do have an OT sergeant in our MCD. She's just not with us for this exercise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, sir, for taking the time to explain OTs.
Of course.
And
that concludes that interview. And if you do want to have any, if you do have any questions for Lieutenant Price, I'll be sure to relay to him. Just type in the comments. Thank you.